Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into something that I think a lot of people are curious about.
Okay.
Administrative officers.
hmm
So if you're out there and you're thinking about a career change, or maybe you have an interview coming up,
Right.
or you're just kind of curious about what these folks do behind the scenes,
hmm
we're going to break it all down for you today.
Us.
Now, our source material for today is 30 administrative officer interview questions and answers from Interview Prep.
Oh, very cool.
And I gotta say, going through this guide, it really opened my eyes to how much more goes into this role than I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah.
So, to kick things off, they call administrative officers the unsung heroes and the backbone of any organization.
I like that.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's true, right? They're the ones who keep everything running smoothly.
Right.
When things get crazy, they're the ones who are like, okay, we got this.
So it's more than just, being organized.
Way more. They have to be great communicators, problem solvers. They have to be able to think on their feet
Right.
and adapt to anything.
Yeah,
That's a big one. Adaptability.
definitely.
And
Yeah.
this guide actually highlights all of that.
Okay, so let's get into some specifics.
Okay.
Because this guide breaks down 30 different interview questions and answers.
Yeah.
Which is super helpful if you're actually prepping for an interview.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you're not, it gives you a really great insider's view
Totally.
of what this role entails.
For sure.
So question number 1 is all about managing budgets and finances.
Okay.
I wouldn't have thought that's like a typical admin task, would you?
No, not at all. You'd think that's more for like a finance department, right?
Yeah, you're right.
But the guide actually gives an example of an admin officer who helped their company cut costs by 10%
Really?
over 2 years.
That's huge.
Yeah, I know.
So they're not just organized, they're financially savvy too.
Exactly.
Okay, color me impressed.
Right. It's pretty amazing.
What else is jumping out at you from this guide?
Well, question number 2 goes into tech skills, specifically Excel.
Wait, they're expected to be Excel wizards.
It seems that way. I mean, I always thought that was more of a data analyst thing.
Me too.
But this guide emphasizes pivot tables, data analysis, even creating charts.
Wow.
It's really about understanding the data and being able to present it in a way that makes sense.
So it's about being data-driven, not just data entry focused.
Exactly. Which is a whole different ballgame.
Totally. That definitely changes my perception.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got financial whizzes who are tech savvy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, question number 3 is all about handling confidential information.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Do you think they're dealing with sensitive stuff all the time?
All the time.
But how do you prove in an interview
Right.
that you can be trusted with that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, the guide breaks down this whole security protocol.
Okay.
Locked cabinets, password-protected files.
Mm-hmm.
They even talk about verifying someone's identity before sharing any information.
Wow, it's serious business.
It is. It's like they're guarding national secrets or something.
Right.
So, okay, we've got the financial whiz, the tech savvy, and the confidant.
Yeah.
What else is in this treasure trove of questions?
Well, question number 4 gets into coordinating events and meetings.
Okay, so this is where we get into more traditional admin territory. Right?
You would think so. Yeah, like booking rooms and stuff.
Yeah, sending out invites.
Right.
But it's actually way more than that.
Way more.
They talk about understanding the objectives of the event,
Oh.
managing logistics, creating agendas, coordinating with speakers,
Wow.
even gathering feedback afterwards.
So they're like event planning ninjas.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They're the ones behind those amazing company retreats that we all secretly love.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Right. Okay, so then the guide gets into multitasking and resource management,
Yeah, that's a big one.
which I think is the classic wearing many hats
Mm-hmm.
scenario.
Yeah.
But how do they actually juggle all of that? Do they have any tips or tricks?
You do. They actually give some great real-world examples.
Okay, give me an example.
So for inventory, they talk about creating a system to anticipate what you're going to need,
Okay.
negotiating with vendors, being proactive so you don't run out of anything.
Oh, smart. So it's about thinking ahead.
Exactly.
What about managing multiple tasks at once? Because I feel like that's where I would just completely lose it.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a challenge. But they talk about color-coded spreadsheets, detailed timelines for big projects,
Right.
and good old-fashioned to-do lists for everyday tasks.
So basically they're masters of organization.
Pretty much.
Okay, well that sounds intense, but also kind of inspiring.
Right.
Now, questions 7 and 9 tackle policy creation
Uh-oh.
and handling difficult coworkers.
Oh. That's a juicy one.
Yeah, so let's start with policies,
Okay.
because I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't think about when they think about admin work.
Yeah, that's true.
But they emphasize the importance of compliance, making sure everyone's following the rules,
Yeah.
researching and updating policies as needed,
Right.
and even training other employees.
So they're like the keepers of the rule book.
It seems that way. Now, what about that coworker
Uh-oh.
who's always pushing buttons?
Yeah.
Because every office has one.
Every office.
Right. So how do you handle that without, like, causing a major meltdown?
Right.
What does the guide say?
Well, it emphasizes diplomacy.
Okay.
Having a private conversation, trying to understand their perspective,
Right.
but also knowing when to escalate things.
Oh, okay. If needed.
Yeah, exactly.
And I imagine that takes a whole lot of patience and finesse.
A lot.
But one thing that's really standing out to me as we go through these questions is that this guide really shows that admin officers have some serious leadership potential.
Yeah, I agree.
And questions 13 and 19 really dive into that.
Oh, interesting. What kind of leadership do they emphasize?
Well, question 13 is all about training new employees. And they really highlight the importance of understanding individual learning styles
Oh, wow.
and providing tailored support.
So it's not just about, like, giving instructions. It's about really helping people learn and grow.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
And then in question 19, they talk about managing a team of administrative staff.
Okay, so now we're talking about managing other people.
Right, which requires a whole different set of skills.
Definitely.
And they talk about open communication, regular meetings,
Mm-hmm.
creating a supportive atmosphere.
It's like Leadership 101.
Pretty much. But it shows that there's room for growth in this role.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not just about, doing your tasks and going home.
Right.
You can actually build a career out of this.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we talk about all the positive aspects of this role, but it's not all sunshine and roses, is it?
No, definitely not.
Question 20 gets into decision-making under pressure.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
And they give this pretty intense story.
Oh, no, what is it?
Imagine having to find a new vendor on the day of a major event.
Oh, my gosh.
Talk about stressful.
That's my worst nightmare.
Right. But it just shows how important it is to stay calm,
Yeah,
think on your feet, and be resourceful.
totally.
And speaking of high-pressure situations,
Uh-huh.
questions 22 and 23 focus on sensitive issues and adapting to change.
Okay, what kind of sensitive issues are we talking about here?
Question 22 deals with things like employee performance issues
Oh.
and even terminations.
Oh, wow, that's heavy.
It is, and the guide emphasizes professionalism, empathy, clear communication.
Mm-hmm.
It's about handling things with grace, even when it's tough.
That's got to be so hard.
Right. And then for adapting to change, they use the example of a company restructuring.
Okay.
New systems, new processes, new work environment.
That sounds overwhelming.
Can be.
Yeah.
But the example they give shows how a skilled admin officer embraces the change, learns new things, and helps everyone else adapt too.
So they're like the change champions.
I like that. Change champions.
Right.
Okay, so I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here. But the grand finale, question 30, is what makes a truly successful administrative officer.
Ooh, the big reveal.
What is it?
They boil it down to two key qualities: strong organizational skills.
Okay, that one's not a surprise.
Right. But the second one might be adaptability.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's not enough to just be organized. You need to be able to roll with the punches and adapt to new situations.
So it's like a combination of like meticulousness
Mm-hmm.
and flexibility.
Exactly, which is not an easy combo to pull off.
No, it's not. Okay, well, this has been eye-opening. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely seeing the role of an admin officer in a whole new light.
Me too. It's way more dynamic and demanding than I think a lot of people realize.
Totally. And it requires a really impressive combination of skills.
It does. But one thing I'm curious about is,
Right.
what about the interview process itself? Does the guide give any insights into that?
Oh, yeah, it does. And it's actually a really important part.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Because even if you have all the skills and experience in the world, if you can't communicate that effectively in an interview...
You're not going to get the job.
Exactly. So they emphasize the importance of showcasing your soft skills.
Soft skills. You mean things like communication and teamwork and problem solving?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because as we've seen, those skills are just as crucial as technical proficiency.
Totally. You got to be able to work with people.
Right. And they want to see that you can handle those tricky interpersonal situations
Mm-hmm.
and adapt to new challenges with a positive attitude.
That makes sense.
So it's not just about what you know, It's about how you interact with others
Right,
and
right.
handle yourself in different situations.
Totally.
And that's where the example answers in this guide are super helpful.
Oh, how
They
so?
provide concrete stories and examples that show those soft skills in action.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So it's about painting a picture of yourself
Yeah.
as a competent, well-rounded person, not just rattling off a list of qualifications.
That's such a good point.
Right. So you want to think about times when you've demonstrated those skills in the past
Mm-hmm.
and be ready to share those stories.
It's like storytelling meets job interview.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Because stories are way more memorable and engaging than just stating facts.
Totally.
And it helps the interviewer connect with you on a personal level.
That makes sense, especially for a role like this where interpersonal skills are so important.
Right, exactly. And, another thing they highlight is the importance of asking thoughtful questions during the interview.
Oh, yes. That's a crucial part that often gets overlooked.
It does. But why is it so important?
Well, for one, it shows that you're genuinely interested in the role
Right.
and the company.
Right.
Plus, it gives you a chance to gather valuable information to help you decide if it's the right fit for you.
So it's a two-way street.
Exactly. You're not just being evaluated, you're also evaluating them.
I like that.
And they give some great examples of questions you can ask.
Like what?
Things like, what's the company culture like?
Oh.
What are the team dynamics? What opportunities for growth are there? What are some of the specific challenges of this role?
Those are all great things to consider.
Yeah, it shows that you're thinking beyond the basic job description
Right.
and really considering the big picture.
And those kinds of questions can leave a lasting impression.
They can. It shows that you're thoughtful,
Right.
engaged, and genuinely interested in contributing to the company's success.
Like the cherry on top of a well-prepared interview Sunday.
I love that analogy. And speaking of cherries on top, let's not forget about the power of follow-up.
Oh, you mean sending a thank you note?
Yes, but it's more than just a formality.
Okay.
It's a chance to reiterate your interest, highlight key points from the conversation, and express your enthusiasm.
So it's an opportunity to, leave a final positive impression.
Exactly. And stay on their radar.
Okay, so they give some tips on crafting those follow-up messages.
They do.
Like what?
Personalize the note, mention specific details from the conversation, and express your excitement about the opportunity.
So it's those little touches that can make a big difference.
They can. It shows that you're genuinely invested,
Right.
not just going through the motions.
Well, it seems like this guide really covers all the bases, from understanding the role
Yeah,
to acing the interview
totally.
and leaving a lasting impression.
Absolutely. It's a great resource.
It is, and I feel like we've just scratched the surface here.
I know, right?
There's so much more to unpack.
There is.
But for now, I think we've given our listeners a really good overview
Yeah, I think so too.
of what it takes to be an administrative officer.
And what it takes to land that job.
Exactly. So stay tuned for part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll explore even more facets of this fascinating role.
Can't wait. You know, one thing that this guide does really well
Yeah.
is it shows all the behind-the-scenes stuff
Mm-hmm.
that admin officers do, like
Wow.
all the tricky situations and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like dealing with those difficult coworkers.
Yeah.
that we were talking about before.
Right.
Office politics.
Oh, the worst.
I know.
It's like, how do you navigate that?
Right.
Well, they really emphasize emotional intelligence here.
Yeah.
Like being able to read the room,
Mm-hmm.
communicate clearly,
Right.
listen actively, find common ground.
So it's like they're the diplomats of the workplace.
Pretty much. They're the
Yeah.
ones who smooth things over
Right.
and keep everyone on good terms.
Yeah, they're like the peacekeepers.
Exactly. And it's not just about managing relationships with coworkers.
Right.
They also talk about representing the company to external stakeholders,
Okay.
like clients,
Mhm.
vendors.
Makes sense.
So they're often the first point of contact
Right.
for people outside the organization.
Yeah.
So they really need to project that professional and welcoming image.
It's like they're the face of the company in a lot of ways.
They are. And
Yep.
speaking of faces,
Okay.
one thing that surprised me in this guide was the emphasis on personal presentation.
Oh, really? Like how they dress and stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they even talk about nonverbal communication,
Okay.
maintaining eye contact, having a confident posture.
Interesting.
It makes sense though, right?
Yeah.
Because they're interacting with people
Yeah.
from all levels of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to be able to adapt their communication style accordingly.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to be too casual with the CEO.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not just about looking professional.
Right.
It's also about projecting competence and trustworthiness.
Totally.
Because they're handling confidential information,
Mm-hmm.
managing sensitive situations,
Right.
people need to feel like they can rely on them.
You got to trust your admin officer.
You do. Okay, so we've talked about presentation, but this guide also highlights professional development for admin officers.
Oh, interesting. What kind of stuff?
Well, they talk about things like taking courses
Mm-hmm.
to enhance your tech skills,
Makes sense.
attending industry conferences,
Okay.
staying up to date on best practices, even pursuing certifications to demonstrate your expertise.
So it's about, like, always learning.
It is. It's about investing in yourself and your career.
Right.
And that shows a real commitment to excellence, which I think any employer would value.
Definitely.
It's like saying, I'm not just here to punch the clock.
Yeah.
I'm here to make a real contribution.
Totally. And I think that attitude is a big part of what makes a successful admin officer. Like that willingness to go above and beyond, be proactive, and always be learning and growing.
And to be honest, I think those are valuable qualities in any profession, not just admin work.
Oh, for sure.
It's about having that growth mindset
Mm-hmm.
and a desire to constantly improve.
Absolutely.
Okay, so speaking of growth,
Mm-hmm.
this guide also touches on the career path
Oh,
for admin officers.
what do they say?
Well, they point out that with experience
Mhm.
and continued professional development, admin officers can move into more specialized roles,
Okay.
like executive assistants,
Mhm.
office managers,
Right.
even project coordinators.
So there's room to, like, climb the ladder.
Exactly. And they also highlight the fact that the skills you gain as an admin officer are transferable to many other fields.
Oh, that's a good point.
So even if you don't see yourself staying in an admin role long term,
Right.
the experience you gain can be a springboard to other opportunities.
Yeah, it's like a foundation for success.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, this conversation is really making me think about how we often underestimate the importance of admin work.
Totally.
It's easy to get caught up in, like, the big picture,
Yeah.
the flashy projects,
Yeah.
the high-profile roles,
Mhm.
but none of that would be possible
Right.
without the people working behind the scenes,
Yeah.
keeping everything running smoothly.
It's like the engine of a car.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. You don't always see it, but it's what makes everything go.
And admin officers are a crucial part of that engine.
They are. They're the ones who make sure the wheels keep turning,
Mm-hmm.
the gears keep meshing, and the whole machine keeps moving forward.
I like that analogy.
And this guide has really shown me all the diverse skills,
Mm-hmm.
the challenges, and the rewards of this often overlooked role.
Me too.
It's really made me realize that admin work is more than just a job.
It is.
It's a profession
Mm-hmm.
that requires talent, dedication, and a genuine desire to make a difference.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And that's something worth celebrating.
Absolutely. So to all the admin officers out there, we salute you.
Hear, hear. But, one thing I'm still kind of wondering about.
What's that?
This guide talks about the importance of having a positive attitude,
Mm-hmm.
being a team player.
Right.
But I wonder how admin officers maintain that positivity when they're dealing with difficult people or stressful situations.
That's a good question, because I'm sure there are days when it's tough to keep that smile on your face.
Right. So how do they do it? What are their secrets for staying positive
Mm.
and resilient in a demanding role?
I guess that's something we'll have to explore further.
Maybe we need to do a whole deep dive on workplace wellness and resilience strategies.
Ooh, I'm in. That sounds fascinating.
But for now, I think it's time to wrap up part 2
Okay.
of our deep dive into the world of admin officers.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned for part 3, where we'll continue our exploration and uncover even more insights.
Can't wait.
It's kind of wild when you think about it,
What's that?
how we just assume those essential roles will always be there,
Oh, yeah, totally.
both at work and in our personal lives,
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And it's like this deep dive has just shined a light on that for me.
Yeah.
Those administrative officers are the ones like behind the scenes,
Oh, yeah.
making sure everything runs smoothly.
Keeping the ship afloat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even if we don't always see it.
Right. It's like they're the wizards behind the curtain making the magic happen.
I love that.
Yeah.
And they do it with such a crazy mix of skills.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Like organization, communication, tech savvy, the list goes on and on.
They wear so many hats. Seriously. It's almost like they have a sixth sense.
A sixth sense.
Yeah, like they can anticipate needs before they even come up.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's that ability to kind of see around corners,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And they're always one step ahead, proactively problem solving.
That's a superpower right there.
It is. Like, think about it. They're juggling calendars, managing projects, handling sensitive information.
All while staying calm and collected.
Exactly. It's amazing.
It really is. It's like they're masters of controlled chaos.
That's the perfect way to describe it. They just thrive in those environments where things are constantly changing.
And there are always unexpected challenges popping up.
Right. But they handle it all with a smile, which brings me back to something we were talking about earlier.
What's that?
How do they stay so positive?
Oh yeah, in the face of all that stress and pressure.
Right. Like, what's their secret?
It's got to be a combination of things.
Okay, like what?
Strong organizational skills, definitely
Yeah.
a proactive mindset.
And maybe even a genuine passion for what they do?
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
If you love what you do, it makes those tough days a little bit easier.
True, true. And maybe some good self-care and stress management techniques too.
Oh, absolutely. Even superheroes need time to recharge.
Right. They can't be saving the world 24/7.
Exactly. And this whole conversation has really got me thinking, maybe we should all try to be a little more like administrative officers in our own lives.
What do you mean?
Well, think about all those qualities we've been discussing, right? Organization, proactiveness, clear communication, a positive attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Those are valuable skills no matter what you do,
Oh yeah, for sure.
whether you're at work, at home, or just out in the world.
It's like the foundation for a good life.
Exactly. So what if we all tried to be a little more like that?
Okay, I'm game. Where do we start?
Maybe declutter our inboxes, create a master to-do list.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, I can get behind that.
And don't forget to schedule in some time for relaxation and self-care.
True, true. Even admin officers need a break sometimes.
Exactly. We all do.
Well, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah, I agree.
It's been an amazing journey into the world of administrative officers.
It really has.
I've learned so much, and I hope our listeners have too.
Me too. And even if you're not thinking about becoming an admin officer,
Right.
I think we can all learn something from these unsung heroes.
Totally. They really are the backbone of any organization.
And they deserve all the recognition.
Absolutely. So to all the administrative officers out there, we salute you.
We do. And to our listeners,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.